And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the Connecting the Universe class. We'll give it a minute or two here for people to kind of filter in. We are actually simulcasting this one tonight. Usually do Connecting the Universe back behind the Connected Universe portal, but simulcasting publicly to Facebook and also to YouTube. So great to see some old faces down there on the YouTube side, like Jill Nimchinsky and Diane Hilbert, Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen. So great to see you both down there. And I'm sure we'll see some familiar faces throughout the night, from the old Haunted Road Media and Edge of the Rabbit Hole sides. So really excited to get into this tonight because did just post the Ireland recap video yesterday. We're going to get back into Egypt here since that's the next big tour. And now we're starting to see some people kind of filter in from the Connecting the Universe Facebook side. So, so I'm seeing Jennifer LeBay down here and Nicole Nimoy. And of course, like I mentioned before, Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen, Diane Hilbert, and Jill Nichinsky. Great to see you all down there. So, without further ado, since we do have people that are starting to filter in, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Welcome, everybody, to Connecting the Universe. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. I have a wonderful class for you tonight where we're going to be diving into everything Egypt. Basically, we are highlighting the upcoming Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour by diving into our tour from last year, getting into a lot of those highlights, some of that esoteric knowledge. It's going to be a really fascinating class. There are going to be clips here, a lot of video clips I'm going to be showing because I'm still trying to preserve my voice. Still have a little bit of that cough going on from getting over COVID, which was just a nightmare of like a week and a half there. So this will help retain the voice a little bit as we go along. A bunch of video clips, things that have not yet been shown, even on the portal side. I'm going to be adding some of these in there. So we'll get into more of that as we go along. Do want to let those that are watching the simulcast, because again, I do not usually do the Connecting Universe class publicly, but we're doing that publicly both on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as within the Connecting the Universe class portal site. For those watching the simulcast and listening to the podcast version of it later, the audio version, please join us here every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. For the full Connecting the Universe experience on connecteduniverseportal.com. There's a 30-day free trial for that. It includes the weekly Connecting the Universe interactive class, of course, sneak peek and behind-the-scenes videos, monthly Q&A videos, exclusive articles, insider travel blogs like the Ireland one that I just posted yesterday, the Egypt one that we're going to be getting into tonight, and also there's an American Southwest one from last year as well. All this and more, connecteduniverseportal.com, all kinds of stuff out there. And of course, exclusive articles and things like that on the backside. All right, so let's start with our class question for tonight, which was, of all the mysteries of ancient Egypt, which would you want answered the most? So we did have a handful of responses to this. So Jennifer LeBay asks, how were all of these amazing structures built with such precision? Why don't we know what they know? Yeah, one of the great mysteries of Egypt and some of these other ancient locations around the world where you have these perfectly cut stone blocks, some of them thousands of tons. Not only were they cut very, very precisely, but how in the world did they move them? We still don't know how they did that to this day. We kind of guess, and in many cases, we don't even have the technology today to make that happen. Tammy Harkoff asks, what was the purpose of the shafts in the Great Pyramid? Yeah, a lot of speculation as to what those shafts were used for. Were they used to align to the stars? Were they used for ventilation? If you think that the Great Pyramid was a machine, was it used for exhaust? Yeah, we really don't know. Again, we kind of guess at that. And some of the shafts, sure, they go all the way out to the exterior of the pyramid. Others stop along the way. Why is that? We really don't know. And then Vicky Brees, new member to the Connected Universe portal, asks, is there any truth to tombs being cursed? Aha. So, of course, people are very familiar with the Curse of Tutankhamun, where Howard Carter and his crew that excavated that did become cursed. Many of them died very premature deaths in some very, very suspicious ways. Now, going into those tombs today, that doesn't happen. Thousands and thousands of people go in there all the time. But the opening of those tombs, something happened. So some people speculate that the quality of air that came out, that gases that came out, or even old maybe diseases or things like that were still lingering about in those tombs. They ingested that or they breathed it in and it did them in. Maybe not. We don't know. So those are the things we're going to be getting into. Some of the things we're going to be getting into tonight. I know Mohamed has a bit of commentary on a few of those things as we go along here. I see the comments are rolling in. On the YouTube side, there's Tom McNicholas with a $10 super chat. Appreciate that, Tom. And yes, I am feeling better. So I really do appreciate that. Again, have a little bit of the lingering cough. So when we get into the video clips, that's going to help save my voice. I got some tea at the ready here. Some honey and lemon tea, green tea, which should work out pretty well. So, but thank you for the $10 super chat, Tom. Really appreciate that. Yeah, definitely seen some old faces down in here. Joe Chandler, Stacy Comiskey, great to see you. Connected Universe Portal member Sarah Youssef is in the house. Great to see you as well. There is Alina. Alina, if you have your question, go ahead and throw it there in the chat because I've already started. I'm not looking back at the old posts. So, all right. Don, Fred, and Cisco, great to see you as well. Okay. So the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. This is taking place next year, next February. And for whatever reason, I did not. Let me go ahead and upload that here real quick. Of all the things I did not do is I did not actually, I had so much stuff I was uploading today for this. I didn't actually even bring up the banner. What am I thinking? So let me put that up here real quick. Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour, February 7th to the 19th next year. Myself and Mohamed Ibrahim, sabatours.com, SABA tours.com. You can find all the information out there. And there are many of the sites that we visited last year on this tour, and that's what we're going to be highlighting and getting into some of these different strange mysteries throughout Egypt. But I do want to talk a little bit about Mohamed here real quick, because he's really the catalyst behind this. Amazing guy, for one. Very, very knowledgeable. So he's been running the tours out there for over 20 years. He studied under Zahi Hawass. People pretty familiar with him. He was director of the Egyptian antiquities for decades. They still occasionally get together for dinner. Mohamed himself was also a teacher for quite a while. But what's great about Mohamed is he knows everyone there because he's been doing this so long. He knows everybody at these sites. He can get us to some of the more off-limits places, which is great. He runs an amazing tour operation. His team is phenomenal. So, and this is what I really want to emphasize with him. Now, we got out there last June. The first time I had ever traveled overseas like that. I mean, I'd been to Canada, been around the Caribbean a bit, had never gone, half a world away. So I was nervous getting off the plane in Cairo. Like, okay, what's going to happen when I get there? So I get off the plane and I'm immediately greeted by Usama. Usama works for Mohamed. Got a little sign there with the tour company, like, oh, okay, you're Usama. And he walks you through the whole thing, like, through customs, getting a SIM card, getting the visa stamped, getting the luggage, the whole works. Walks you right through the airport after doing all those things, gets you out there to a van, which has another one of Mohamed's guys. And Usama stays at the airport because he's going to, grab somebody else coming off a plane. And so, I'm in the van with another one of Mohamed's guys, drives all the way from the Cairo airport to Giza, to the hotel we're staying at, which is right across from the pyramids. drops me off, and there's a couple more members of Mohammed's team waiting right there at the door for me. And they're like, oh, let's help you get checked in. They grab the bags, take me to the front desk, get me all checked in, walks me through the whole thing. Absolutely perfect. Loved it. So it's like all those like nerves of, okay, first time that I'm going this far, it quashed it right there. Mohammed really takes care of you. This is actually, the photo here is in a gazebo outside the Red Pyramid, which we will touch on here in just a few minutes. So, all right, that's all the formalities. Let's actually get into some of these locations. So, of course, everybody wants to know about the Great Pyramid. So we did the Great Pyramid third day. Now on our itinerary here, coming up, of course, it's a different tour. So we are starting with the pyramids first. We're doing the actual special 2-hour just us inside the Great Pyramid at the end of the tour. So we have the pyramids at the beginning, and then we have the pyramid, the Great Pyramid at the back end. So we'll be doing like the second pyramid and some of the other things around there. We will go around the site, which is absolutely amazing. But let me give you, do the first video clip here. Let me give you a little insider taste of what to expect going inside the Great Pyramid, and then a little bit outside of it as well. Okay, we are here at the Great Pyramid, about to go inside. In the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid. And we have to thank Mohammed for this. Thank you, Mohammed. I really appreciate this opportunity to be in the subterranean chamber.
You are very welcome. This is a rare opportunity. Not everybody can have this opportunity.
I'm probably gonna drive them nuts because they're waiting for me to go up to the King's Chamber. But just looking at the Queen's Chamber here, I mean, back in there, I'll put the photos up because it's hard to see with the video. Like, not bring a flashlight, me being a bad investigator. Looks like heat damage. You can see kind of like rivulets. It's almost like molten, but then it's all blackened all the way up, especially back there where you have all these little rivulets. We're in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. This is a erosion granite box that is extremely interesting. It's not sarcophagus.
And what is the purpose of this thing? What discovery did you make today?
Well, the discovery that we made today, we have the 3 holes on the back side, evenly spaced apart. They're not on the front side. This is completely flat here on the back side, while we have this lip. It goes all the way down here. You don't know why it was built like that, of course, but very interesting that this is flat like that and does not have a lip like the other side. It basically suggests that there was no lid that was placed straight down. Something was more slid from the back. We don't know why the holes are.
As I said, we can prove many functions to the pyramid. So when we say power plant, that is not the only function. When we say portal, that is also not the only function. When we say healing center, many of the functions of the pyramid. As if we are talking about 1,000 projects in one building. I agree with you. And that's why that is what I was trying to refer to, the blue symbol, okay, the 2 triangles. When we say pull of the sky, we have one of the knitters had this title, pull of the sky, Osiris is being called pull of the sky. And we know that Osiris is extraterrestrial being. Osiris is not from Earth.
He's a giant with an elongated skull.
Yes, okay. So that could be. This is a very strange block. It's a block of 8 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why they design a block with 8 sides, like a puzzle shape, and it's surrounded by 6 blocks? And why we don't see 2 blocks are the same? We don't have any twin blocks here. Every block is different design from the other. Why they made this? They say this is interlocking design. Okay, good. Why? They say to resist the vibrations from earthquakes. Do we have earthquakes in Egypt? No. In the last 2,000 years, we have only 3 earthquakes. But the word vibrations is perfect. but not from earthquakes. From what?
Machine.
From the machine.
All right, so a little taste there of the Great Pyramid, some of the things that we'll be doing around the area. Again, a little bit of a different tour because we will be doing some in the second pyramid, which we did not do last time. So again, a little bit of a different tour. So good to see Lisa Baxter down there, Mary Haygood, Keith Bailey's in the house. Good to see you, Keith. Brittany Barbieri, good, great to see you, Britt. Would still love to see you on this tour, so come along. All right, so we're going to move on to the Sphinx here in a little bit. Another thing that I did want to mention about Mohamed, because people ask about, okay, is it safe in Cairo? Is it safe in Egypt? Never had an issue, never had a problem. He also keeps his own security team with him, so it never becomes an issue. But going to all these World Heritage sites, anyways, they also have their own security there too. So it's never an issue. And we were always very safe at the hotels as well. So, but people ask that. So, and Alina asks, have you ever tried using a spirit box or other form of communication while in the pyramid? So, I've talked a little bit about this in some of our past Egypt classes. So we were not allowed to record using devices within the Great Pyramid. They've had, I guess, some issues in the past. So, and again, we were there on our own special 2-hour tour. There was can't tell you who, but a certain archaeologist who basically gave us the key and let us in there. He was kind of poking around, letting us know what we could and could not do, even though it was our own special private tour, which got us into places like the subterranean chamber, which is not open to the public, and some other places there. Like the Queen's Chamber at the time was closed because they were setting up some equipment in there. But we did run some of our own experiments that we were not allowed to record in there. But that's where the idea that the pyramid is tuned to the key of F sharp, and the coffer that's in the King's Chamber is tuned to the key of A. I brought a chromatic tuner with me, and sure enough, they were tuned to that. So that was a great experiment that we were able to run. Just wasn't allowed to record it. Okay, so let's move on to the Great Sphinx. So now on the last tour, we weren't really able to get into the Sphinx. So to get right up, like between the Sphinx paws, to check out the Dream Stela and all that, that's an extra perk. That's a little bit of a bigger tour or what have you. So since we were doing the Great Pyramid that time around, we weren't doing the Sphinx. So on this particular tour, we're supposed to be doing both. So on this tour here, Stargates of Ancient Egypt, we're supposed to be getting the between the paws. But there's a lot also going on there within the Valley Temple there, around the right in front of the Great Sphinx. A lot of interesting construction there. So there were some questions at the beginning from Jen about the precision of the construction of these buildings. And so here is a clip on just that.
This is what we call it the Valley Temple, giant blocks from limestone, which is a big question. Why this size? Why? Like a small block like this will be more than enough. Okay, I will tell you why inside. That is not the only question here, or the only problem. That from inside it is covered with big blocks of granites, and also from outside, but we don't see it because it was falling apart. But here we can see some of it still attached. This block one day was on the top of this building, okay, was upright, like what we call it, like a cavetto design, okay, for decoration. So according to Christopher Dunn, that the radius here and changing to the second radius, this cannot be done by any manual tool, even advanced tool. advanced tool run by hand or hold by hand or by a manual technique, that is impossible. This must be done by a mechanical system, and that system run by a program or a computer to move from the radius here to here. And where it took, like, it is impossible to make a straight cut by hand, but it is more impossible, if I can say this in English, to make a curve, perfect curve. And that curve is not perfect in one course only. No, it is perfect all the way down. So the same angle here is the same here. Every 1 millimeter is the same angle, perfectly. So a man was, and even in modern days, with a power tool can do this? No way. It must be done by a machine. So if we talk about this one, to make this corner or edge here, they had to hack all the way to this level. Like, why? This is too much work for one block, okay? So just to make this design, they had to cut or to hack all the layer here till this place. So that is like too much if this is just a funeral place or a place for visitors to come to worship the king as they claim, okay? But no, this is a very important element, because again, they need the place to be connected. They don't want to risk any disconnection.
Yeah, so this is where Mohamed and I really started to hit it off. So he's, talking about basically those machined edges of the lintel that used to be there on the temple. So he's done a lot of tours with Christopher Dunn. Christopher Dunn did the Giza power plant book, and he also did the Egyptian technology book. He has another one coming out here pretty soon, if it's not already out. Mohamed's in tours with a lot of guys like Nessie Harriman, Billy Carson, of course, my buddy Jonny Enoch, who's on that particular tour, bunch of different people. But with Christopher Dunn, he's a machinist by trade, which my dad also is. So that lintel, that's a routed edge. I could go into my dad's, basement and put a block of wood on his router and create that. But the thing is, it's so perfectly done. There's no way they did that by hand. So a lot of the photos that I came back with, and a lot of footage that I came back with, I was showing my dad, I'm like, okay, just take it out of your head for a minute that, how many thousands of years old this is. Tell me how this was done. And there's a particular clip that we're not showing on this class, but I've shown in other classes within the sarcophagus in the Cairo Museum, where you could see that they were cutting off the lid to the sarcophagus off the back of the sarcophagus. And you can see rounded saw blades were used, one on top, one in below. Now, according to mainstream archaeology, they didn't have these type of saws back then, but you're seeing the cut. And this is granite. And they're trying to tell us, well, they used, copper tools and things like that to carve these different things. I'm showing this to my dad. I'm like, Dad, you see the saw cuts. He's like, oh yeah, I see the saw cuts. I'm like, what type of saw would it take to cut that thing off the back? He's like, this is granite. It's like, that'd be like a diamond tip saw. Yeah, which they weren't supposed to have back then, but there it is. So again, this is where Mohamed and I hit it off when we started talking about that sort of stuff. So Victoria's wondering if I use the dowsing rods on the trip. So the interesting thing about using the dowsing rods out there in Egypt, because everything, or not everything, but so much is granite. You remember what happened at Moore High Cross with the granite cross that was standing up there? That was like, what, day one? Basically, that same sort of thing was happening. So the dowsing rods were just like going nuts in Egypt. And yeah, it's. I'll say this about Sarah. It seems like laser precision. The way you know it's not laser is nothing's vitrified on those particular cuts. So it's some sort of machine work rather than actual laser. Where in the Queen's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, where you saw that vitrification on the back of the wall, they're trying to say in that little alcove there was an idol or a statue or something like that. They're guessing at it, and it's like the rock is melted. It's vitrified. So there was something extremely, extremely hot back there. Whether that was laser technology or something else extremely hot, we don't know. But all right. So moving on, because we have a lot to cover here in a very short period of time. Okay. Dahshur. So we've covered Dahshur, the area of Dahshur a bit when we've talked specifically about Stargates. And so this is the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. So let me show you, this is the Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid, that area. So let me give you the little video clip here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's in that area when it comes to Stargates. Here we go. Off to the Bent Pyramid. This is going to be absolutely freaking amazing.
How do you feel out here on these sacred lands?
I can't even describe it. This is amazing.
It is amazing. These enormous ancient structures, that this entire area, Saqqara, is built all on the principles of resonance, sound, microwave technology.
The word holy was originally sacred, was originally energetic. So it was energetic site and then became sacred or holy. So the word energy became the word holy. And the healer became a priest. It was a way to control the society. It's 55 degrees. And this is 56. It's 1 degree different. Okay, just 1 degree. But the base of the second pyramid at Giza Plateau is bigger. And the height of Giza Plateau pyramid is higher. So if this was about to collapse, as they claim, Giza Plateau pyramid supposed to collapse first. Because just one degree difference in the angle, okay, not 10, not 9, not 5, just 1 degree different. But the base is smaller here and the height is shorter here. So if this was a mistake, so the second pyramid at Giza Plateau is the biggest mistake in Egypt.
Okay, so that's the Bent Pyramid. The Red Pyramid is also there, actually right in front of it. I actually did not go inside the Red Pyramid while we were there. I was a little winded from the Bent Pyramid. That was day one, and was not expecting how physical it was to get down into the Bent Pyramid. So Mohamed and I had a conversation in the gazebo, actually back at this picture, right outside the Red Pyramid, talking about the shadow entities in ancient Egypt and how they interpreted that within their culture, which would be part of Shadow Dimension Season 2. So be on the lookout for that there. So I mentioned Stargates here at Dahshur. So going back to this scene here with Mohamed when he was talking about the angle of the Bent Pyramid, in the background there you can see a fence. And you can kind of see it in this photo too. This is another little structure back behind the Bent Pyramid. So what that fence is, what's beyond that fence, is an Egyptian military installation, which is referred to as Egypt's Area 51. Of course, we can't get on there. What is back within there is another site. Actually, it's the remnants of the base in the subterranean chambers of a pyramid, or at least they believe. So you can see some interesting structures within here. These are historic photos. Again, you can't get on there now. And the rumors that come out of this particular location is that there is a working Stargate there within Egypt's Area 51 associated with this ancient site. I have additional photos. If you check out our Stargates of Ancient, or not that one, but one of our other Egyptian classes that we've done, and it might have specifically been the straight up Stargates. We were talking about Stargates all over the world. I'd have to go back and check and verify. But in any case, we covered a lot more photos from this location. They describe it as an aurora borealis coming out of the ground, and that's how they're accessing Stargate, is actually, kind of jumping into this very colorful portal that's in the ground. So, of course, would love to get some sort of confirmation to the story and how that actually works with this particular site. We don't have time to get into all of that this evening, but it's amazing if it is truly there. But that is right there at the Dahshur site. So within the vicinity of Dahshur is Saqqara. And so that is the step pyramid. So we have the bent pyramid, we have the step pyramid, and Saqqara is certainly interesting in itself. And I have a few clips from here, but here's the first one from Saqqara.
By the way, this tunnel is not one of the designs. This is not the original design. This is a tunnel made by the Tomb Raiders. But those Tomb Raiders are not from modern time, ancient Tomb Raiders. We expect that this tunnel was made around 500 BC. The tunnel they made led them straight to the shaft under.
I'm not sure. Honey, if you want to try to take that picture, it's not like where
We have in these shrines some small windows inside the design. If you go and just put your head and listen, you will hear something. But don't do any sound or anything. Just listen to the rumbling sound. Maybe comes from the underground water table. Okay.
These are multiple platforms, right, Mohammed? Multiple platforms at one point, just like
Yes,
this one?
it was all the way to the end, the same shape like this one.
Do you think it would work, the demonstration?
Okay, so like Mohammed said, the idea is to listen in there. I have a chromatic tuner, so if we actually get some sort of, well, I mean, it's speaking to my voice, so we'll see what happens. Hello? Test, 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 test. Hello? So it's weird, it's like canceling my voice. It's barely registering, it's getting a little bit there.
No need, according to engineering logic, there is no need for this huge room, solid room, okay? The only need is to reflect the resonance. So you are hearing this because of at least two connections. So that's why if you are using a device, it will not capture the signal, because the signal here is as if it became all through the wall, through the room itself, through that design. So your ear can catch this, but the device no.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting there in that little alcove. I mean, it was like natural noise cancellation or natural noise dampening. I threw the chromatic tuner in there and just to see what would happen. And it was barely picking up anything. And I was reminded of that a bit at Drombegstone Circle in Ireland, the way that the circle captured the sound and basically put it back on you, or you kind of stood in the middle of the circle and you're hearing this strange kind of echo within that alcove. And there were several of them there. You were getting that same sort of resonance back at you, but stronger, really. So it almost seems like the concepts that they used there in Egypt for these little alcoves was kind of the same concepts that they used at Drombeg within the circle, because it had that same kind of strange echoey type of sound that you could actually pick up with your ear. So it's really, really interesting. Okay, so around that area of the step pyramid, we visited a number of different tombs that were around there as well. And This one here is kind of fun. Let's see what you guys make of this particular hieroglyph.
We are in Kajemni tomb, and we are here in the inner part of the tomb, and we are looking to writings supposed to be like offerings to the soul, but there is a text, line of text here, and it says we have this symbol, which can be easily explained as a basket or something, but I don't recognize it. It is not listed in the hieroglyphic dictionary.
Could it be a UFO?
It is hard to say this, but it's still also strange symbol. Okay, I know it looks like the famous pictures of UFOs, but to have this picture here, it is not also usual. So we need some time. We need a time to study this and to figure out the meaning of the symbols before and the symbols after, so we can get the meaning of this one.
All right. So yeah, Johnny going to, is it a UFO? And it had to kind of take a moment there, but he already knew that that's where it was going to go. I did take photos of that entire line. Now, what's interesting is to the left of that, there are a couple of star hieroglyphs. And I've taken some classes on hieroglyphs, so I can kind of look at a few things like the owl there in front of it. Okay, that's an M, but because of the way its head is pointing, you're actually reading that line from right to left. And so I have not sat down to try to interpret the whole line of text, but you know, it would be interesting to see if, from the context of what everything else says, to see if we can decipher what that little symbol is. Because yeah, looking through the different books, like Gardner's book, and I have one that I got in Egypt on hieroglyphs, it's not listed. So yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing about the hieroglyphic language, is that as they discover more tombs and open other things up, it's like, well, there's one we haven't seen before. So it's kind of interesting. Brittany Barbieri, Britt asks, in my studies on the pyramids, do you believe in the theory that they used certain tunes / sounds to move the stones? Yeah, actually I do. I believe that there is a sound technology that we don't know how to use today. I think that knowledge has been lost to time, how they were able to use resonance, vibration, frequency to be able to, whether it was move large blocks of stone, to enter altered states of consciousness for healing purposes. That knowledge has been lost to time, but we look at our ancient structures and we see pieces of it there, some memories of, okay, this, this has a resonance to it. There is sound built into this. Like when it comes to the Great Pyramids, being tuned to those different keys, F sharp for the Great Pyramid. Well, that's also the key of planet Earth. Why the coffer's tuned to the key of A, I'm not sure. But as far as moving the large blocks, well, you see like Coral Castle, Edward Leeds Scanlon, where it's believed that he used sound technology to be able to move those, and he claimed that he had discovered the secrets of the ancients to be able to move those blocks. So, yep, I do believe that. So, okay, that's the fun one from Saqqara. Down the hill from the Step Pyramid is the Serapeum. You want to talk about moving large things into tight spaces and head scratching. How in the world did they do it? It's a Serapeum.
30 tons. This piece, the estimate weight of it, 30 tons, one solid piece of rose granite. Question for you, and I hope you answered the question. Rose granite from which part in Egypt?
Aswan.
Aswan, very good. I used to be a teacher, by the way. So I'm a big fan of questions. Where is Aswan? Almost 700 miles south of Cairo. 700. So if they think that they can push this or drag this all the way, even by boats or by anything, this is impossible. Also, to go through, Look, this of course door is modern, but look, this is the edge of the door jamb, and that is the other door jamb. So the space is, yes, officially wider than the size of the lift, but still not wide enough for hundreds of workers pulling and pushing this, okay, and they have to maneuver to turn right, to turn left. There is no enough space for this number of people. And if we don't have this number of people, it means they cannot carry this, like 30 tons. If I bring 30 men, so each one will carry a ton. Can you carry a ton, Jason? Can any human carry 1 ton? No. Okay, so let's double it. 60 people, each one will carry half a ton. Still no. So this is limestone. Before we continue, the place was closed in 1995 for restoration reasons, and you can see this is what happened and all the iron bars. And it was reopened at 2012. They made a kind of a celebration for the academics, and because I am local person here in the area, I call it my neighborhood, so I invited myself, and I came, and while they were busy with the conference, I came to visit the site, and I found, guess what I found? The chief engineer of the project. He was retired. He was like old enough, I think he was like almost 80 years old. So I met him exactly at this spot. I shook his hand, introduced myself, and I told him, if you can tell me like anything, because we bring tourists here and we need to explain to them what is the story. He told me, son, he put his hand over my shoulder, said, we don't know anything about this place. So I told him, I know you are a humble person. He said, honestly, we know nothing. Here it is. One solid piece of rose granite weighing almost 70 tons.
Yeah, it's unreal how they could have possibly gotten those things down there. And like Mohammed's saying, you know, all the amount of people that you would have to employ to try to get them down there, they're not going to fit. That's why it was like, 30 people, 60 people. That conversation went on for a little bit. He kept doing different multiples. And yeah, they're just, you're not going to employ the people down there to be able to drag it. It's like same in South America, some of those, structures and blocks that they got high up on the mountain. It's like, okay, here's a little road that goes up that way. And sure, maybe they could have dragged it along the road because the block is, wide enough, or the road is wide enough for the block. But what about the amount of people that it would take to get it up there? The people aren't going to fit on the road. That's the thing. There's not the room for the actual people. So how did they move the blocks? And you're seeing stuff like this in the Serapeum. I mean, I'm standing under this thing. That's a lid to this coffer, for lack of a better term for it. What exactly is it? There weren't any bodies found in here. Some people have speculated one regeneration chamber, almost kind of like something out of the movie Stargate. Another is batteries to help with the energy of the pyramid up the hill, which is the step pyramid. So those are a couple of different ideas for alternative uses for what these may have actually been, but it's just unreal the sheer size and weight of these things. So the Serapeum it's just mind-boggling to be within there. Okay, so let's move on to a couple of the temples. We're not going to be able to hit everything that's on this trip. In fact, there are a couple of things on this locations on the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour that I've not yet been, so I don't even have any clips. But let's go to Dendara. This was one of my, I really enjoyed the different temples. This is certainly a favorite.
Is there anyone in Egypt you do not know?
The pedestal is from what?
That's wrong.
So prepare for the scanning. So the whole floor was granite. Space what? We call it space what? Spaceship. Why we don't call it space rocket? Because the ancient Egyptian represented ships sailing on the sky. All of these ships are sailing on the sky or on the space. And above each ship, different number of stars. So every ship is going to a certain galaxy. Come close, look. If you look up there, you can see a separation between the two blocks. Can you see that cut in between?
Yes.
On the right side, on the upper one, you can see a snake, and next to it, a man with no legs.
Genie.
We understand that everything in ancient Egypt was two, double. Either north or south, or masculine and feminine, okay? And we have so many words and letters and identities, masculine and feminine. But we do have a name called Ra, someone called Ra, a letter called Ra. Is there a feminine Ra? No. Or we learn it? No. But when I came here, I found this. If I hide the body, it will be perfectly round. But this is the female body. So this is Ra'it, the female aspect of Ra. So Ra, so the sun have a male aspect and female aspect, or male energy and female energy. And she is holding what? She is holding the own symbol. This is the symbol of Heliopolis. This place is called Onet. So On is the masculine city in Cairo, the city of knowledge, city of power, and this was the city for all the students who came from different places like Rome, Greece, Persia, and anywhere in Middle East to study in Egypt.
Here we are entering the Dahshur crypt. Oh. Okay, they say this is a newly opened crypt here at Dahshur, that we are the first group in here. It's freaking awesome. This is like Tomb Raider.
You feel like you're in Indiana Jones?
Yeah, Indiana Jones, there you go.
Okay, a lot going on at that temple. So what's interesting about working with Mohamed is he notices fine details like, okay, Ra. There's not supposed to be a female version of Ra, but yet there on the wall in Dahshur, he found a female representation of Ra, Ra'it. So the T at the end is, that's the feminine representation. You'll find that when you look at some of the different hieroglyphs, if it has that loaf T at the end, then you know it's feminine because it's T. Also, just a note, you hear Mohamed using the word neter a lot. That's basically the Egyptian word for God. Also, what's interesting is like Horus. Horus is also not supposed to have a feminine representation, yet in another one of the temples, I think it was Edfu, he found a female representation of Horus. So it's interesting, the little details that he notices. I really enjoy working with him. So the ceiling of Dahshur, beautiful, very, very blue. Let me give you a little closer shot of the genie on the ceiling right there in the middle. So they do believe in the jinn over there. Talking with Mohammed's son Adham, he had a lot of questions for me about about my work with shadow entities, because that's something that he's kind of been researching and exploring on the jinn side of all of that. So you see that representation here with it looks just like a genie or something out of Aladdin, which is kind of interesting. Also in that clip, I'm not going to get into it here, the quote unquote Dahshur light bulb. We've talked about that in other classes. It's basically a representation of energy. You have the symbolism of the lotus flower and the jed pillar. Again, we've talked about that in other classes, and we don't have all the time for that at this moment. But okay, another fascinating temple there, Abydos. which has so much going on. Let me hit that here real quick. Good morning. Ready to start another day. I'm actually alone here on top of the Nile River cruise that has been our hotel for the past few days. We're actually parked in Luxor, so the town of Luxor. So Luxor and Karnak are actually, the temples are actually right over there.
So we are in Abydos city. Abydos is what was called by the Greeks Abydos. And the word al-madfuna means the buried one, the hidden one. And it's not necessarily mean the buried, but we maybe talk about the energies here in this place. So yesterday we have seen the word Stargate in Karnak temple. Now we will see the word Stargate in Abydos temple. Sab, and Sab means a star, and the symbol gate. And in the same way, Stargate, 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 Stargate. So if this was just a title, why we don't see it everywhere next to the name of the king? Why in certain places? Because this is the Stargate, not the other location. That's to look, he is surrounded, but we explain this wrong when we say was scepter is power. They think power because he is the king. No, it could be power because this is a conductive material or tool, to the energy of earth. That's why we see all the Egyptian, but not here, knitters holding this was scepter, but it doesn't touch the ground. You know what will happen if it touches the ground? It will be connected and the phenomenon will be very strong.
Okay, I'm going to cut it short there because we actually have less than 10 minutes left in the class. And I want to throw up a couple of these other clips real quick. But with Abydos, there's a lot going on there. So obviously the interesting hieroglyphs where, you know, the one looks like a tank, the other looks like a helicopter, you got one that looks like an airplane. So all of those controversial hieroglyphs are there. You see 3 different rooms there that are labeled as Stargates. You have the most extensive kings list in any of the temples that are there. And in part of that clip, and you can get a lot of this on the Connected Universe Portal site within the Egypt class that I have out there, the Egypt course, or as a member, you get it on the back end. Even with that most extensive list, you have certain kings that were eliminated from there that are missing. So it's not an all-inclusive list. And there are still kings that have been lost to time. So it really calls into question some of the dating that we've done with ancient Egypt. And then back behind the Abydos temple is the Osirion. Now, Mohammed referred to the hidden one. Well, this had been essentially a hidden temple for a long, long time. It is older than the Abydos temple. This is a location we weren't able to get into last time. We're supposed to be going there this time for Stargates of Ancient Egypt. And what's interesting is behind one of the pillars, you see the carvings of the flower of life, which is supposed to be a little bit more of a modern symbol than far back in ancient Egypt times. And this would be, pre-dynastic here with the Osirion. So what in the world is the flower of life doing there down in the Osirion? So Abydos has a ton going on with it. Plus, they have a couple of chambers there where you can take some really cool photos because they have the sun kind of streaming in just at the right angle where you can get a photo and it makes it look like you're actually catching the sun in your hands. It's really, really cool. So, all right, we're going to move on to Hatshepsut's mortuary temple, which I talk about a lot when we talk about Stargates because of this whole setup with the temple.
All right, good morning. I didn't have a chance to do my little intro earlier today, but we are heading to the temple of King Hatshepsut, which was a woman, not quite an actual king. So definitely, there are legends of Stargates here. There's Mr. Jonny Enoch to tell you all about that.
Yeah, no, Hatshepsut and absurd. They most certainly were obsessed with Stargates. They had that in front of their name. And so when you step up to this place, it's more than just a mortuary. When you get to the gates, it says Stargate on the front of it. And as soon as you step in the back, we see this false door to the netters that you don't find a lot of pictures of on the internet because you're not supposed to take pictures of it. But at the end of the day, we know at some point coming down these great steps could have been beings from Sirius, some other place like that.
The second thing I want you to pay attention at, look to the greenish color. Can you see it? That is because those carvings were inlaid with copper. Some of it copper, some of it was lapis lazuli, some was gold. So it was a kind of not just carving, but inlaid carvings. So it will be very shiny, very beautiful when it was original. This is the title we are looking for. Here the star and the word gate. But here it doesn't say just Stargate, it says Great Stargate. There is a vertical symbol. Can you see the symbol gate? Next to it, something like a bin. Okay? That means great. Great Stargate.
All right, and I was a little bit limited on the amount of video that I was taking that day. I was suffering from dehydration. I mean, we were there in the dead of summer in Egypt, actually right before they kind of shut down a lot of the locations for the summer. But we wanted to be there for the summer solstice that year in the Great Pyramid. So it was extremely hot, and I was dehydrated like crazy that particular day. So I didn't get all the video footage that I wanted to actually show the interior of the Stargate. I have some photos, but kind of what Johnny was referring there to there on the interior. So this is the Holy of Holies. And back within that room there, off to the right-hand side, is this symbol of the stars within the cartouche, another symbol for Stargate. And there's actually like 3 or 4 different ones that we point out are different different iconography for Stargate. And if you get into some of our other Egypt classes, I break down Hatshepsut's temple, the way the energy is represented there, the little remnants of the pyramid off to the side, which could have been the power plant for the Stargate back there within Hatshepsut's temple. It's a really, really fascinating setup. And so when we're there in Egypt in February, that's something that we are definitely going to concentrate on. So I had some other clips. We're not going to be able to get into it all this evening, which I do apologize for. Like the one from Elephantine Island is like over 5 minutes long. That'll definitely take us past our time. But I have out there on the YouTube channel a rather extensive video on Elephantine Island, which is fascinating because you do have a Stargate there at the top of the hill, but you also have the depiction of Mayans, which is interesting. You got the whole Mayan headdress and everything going on there, but it's also a presumed location of where the Ark of the Covenant had once rested. If you subscribe to the idea that the Ark of the Covenant made its way out of Israel and down to Ethiopia, Elephantine Island is a location that it was supposed to have stayed for about 400 years. And they have the old underground temple there where it is supposed to have been. And there actually are some people that believe the Ark of the Covenant is still hidden there. So a lot of different theories for that. And then, of course, the Stargate at the top of the hill. So Valley of the Kings will also be going to, those tombs there, Valley of the Kings. King Tut's tomb should be open this time. It's the 100th anniversary of the opening of it this November. So that's going to be a big deal. We'll be able to go see that this February. We had a lot of other ones last time out. And you guys know I am very, very interested in the Ouroboros, which you can see back, other hand, you can see back behind the wall there, the more famous depiction of it. But It's a symbol that dates back to ancient Egypt. We actually see it on King Tut's shrine there. That's like the first time we actually get a glimpse of it, but it's also in some of the other tombs there, just not as a perfect circle, but you still see the idea of the snake eating its own tail. This is more of an oval fashion. It looks like a cartouche, that they did this type of symbolism in a cartouche. And that's the idea of recycling and rebirth. And so, of course, they would put something like that within a tomb because they believe in that, the recycle, rebirth, soul going off to the constellation of Orion, to Sirius, and that sort of thing. So, all right, we're kind of at the end here. A couple other things I wanted to know. Of course, we have a 4-day Nile cruise mixed in with this. At the very beginning of Abydos, I did show myself there on the boat, and it's fascinating going up and down the Nile, on those ships, and it's beautiful, beautiful at night, especially. But yeah, it's a real treat to be able to do that. So Tel Basta and Tanis, I've not been to those locations. Those are on our itinerary. The unfinished obelisk at Aswan Quarry. I did grab a little rose quartz there from Aswan. We'll be hitting some of the different Egyptian museums and those sorts of locations as well. So see, all Luxor and Karnak will be visiting as well. Also, temples of Sobek and Horus at Kamumbo, which see, that's Sobek there. So he's the crocodile. All right, so that is about it. We're at the end of our time here. Let me go ahead and put up the banner one last time. Stargates of Ancient Egypt, February 7th to the 19th, 2023. Go to sabatours.com, S-A-B-A tours.com. You navigate there to Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. So Mohamed Ibrahim and I will be hosting you there in February. And I really do hope to see many of you there. Of course, we'll be doing more of the travel blogs like that to be able to share with those that are not able to make it. But we really hope you do experience it with us, because it is unlike anything else. I mean, it's one thing to watch some documentaries, study, even, some people, when they post, I don't know, like a 360 video, I mean, those are cool because, okay, you get the whole, you can spin around, take a look. It is so much different actually being within there, where you actually, it's majestic. You don't realize how huge some of those buildings are until you actually walk into them and you're looking up like, how? That's kind of like the biggest question, how? And, we're still trying to answer that to this day. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Those that are not subscribers to Connecting Universe Portal, this is a class that we do every Wednesday night, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us, connectinguniverseportal.com, 30-day free trial out there. All right, everybody, till next time, if time really exists.